Hello, everyone, and welcome to Digital Marketing 3, Lesson 25. I've pre-recorded this lesson for you on a Monday, 20 November 2023. It's a lesson for tomorrow, 21 March. Sorry, guys, I mentioned 20 November. I don't know why I'm fast forwarding the year here. So Monday, 20 March 2023, and this lesson for tomorrow, 21 March 2003. Remember, guys, tomorrow it's a public holiday and we are not allowed to go on campus. It's a Human Rights Day. So I've pre-recorded this lesson for you so that you may not miss out on some of the key aspects of the digital marketing environment that brands need to consider when formulating a digital marketing strategy. So as you are well aware, we have looked at the micro environment of a brand. We did customer analysis. We did competitor analysis, and we also looked at intermediaries. So those are the key players of a brand's immediate trading operation environment. There are also other players such as employees that you need to take note of. There are other players such as suppliers that you need to take note of. There are players like shareholders that you need to take note of. But these players do not necessarily influence the digital marketing strategy of an entity. They do have a role on the company's immediate trading environment, but they do not necessarily interfere or have such a huge impact on the digital marketing strategy. So there are also the internal players that you can always look at when doing a micro environmental analysis. But the three that we provided for you guys, namely customer analysis, competitor analysis, and intermediaries, they are so crucial to the trading environment of any brand. So we are going to continue analyzing the digital environment of any given brand. But with lesson 25, we are going to be focusing on the macro environment, which is the wider environment of any given brand. Remember, we mentioned that these factors influencing the wider environment of any business, they are beyond the control of that brand. For example, COVID-19. COVID-19 is something that emerged beyond any organization that was in South Africa. So these are the things that we need to take note of and adapt quickly to the changing wider environment. Despite not having direct control of what is happening in the wider environment, organizations must prepare and be agile, be flexible to adapt to the changes that are happening. Another example would be the POPI Act. This is a legal framework that was drafted and is now into action in South Africa, which deals with the protection of personal information. You know, it's a law that needs to be complied with. And brands do not have any control over it rather than complying to that law. So just a recap, in lesson 24, we did a revision on everything that we focus on in terms of the microenvironment. We also did some notable examples using Shein, using Superbalist, using all sorts of these brands that we relate with and we always buy from online. So the readings for the outcomes for this lesson is going to be, at the end of this lesson, we must be able to identify how the macro environment affects a brand's digital marketing strategy, planning, implementation, and performance. You must also be able to consider the legal, the moral, and ethical constraints of digital marketing, and you must be able to identify the aspects of each of the microenvironmental forces that are relevant to digital marketing. You need to understand the significance of social media in the macro environment. So these are the key terms that you are going to come across as I go through this lesson. You are going to come across macro environment, of course. You are going to come across strategic agility. You are going to come across environmental scanning. We've discussed this. You are going to come across situation analysis, which is what you are doing. And you are going to come across online marketplace, because with digital marketing, we focus on the online community. Even though it's not a class activity, there is some exercise that I'd like you guys to take note of as we go through this lesson. So you need to ask yourself, what are the aspects of the macro environment and how these aspects influence digital marketing? So in most cases, when you're talking about the macro environment, we are actually talking about the pestle analysis. And I'm sure that you guys know more about the pestle analysis, where P stands for something, E stands for something, S stands for something, T stands for something, E stands for something, and L stands for something. This analysis is always crucial because it influences on the strategy itself. When I say it influences the strategy, from the formulation of a strategy to the implementation of the strategy and the afterwards measures of a strategy. So the macro environment forces can influence digital marketing, and these are the forces that affect trading environment, but over which brands' operations have limited direct influence. We explore the macro environment forces, focusing on the potential relevance of each to digital marketing strategy. So the micro environment consists of the PESO factors. So these factors are summarized to PESO, but they are not actually limited to the PESO factor. So P stands for political factors, E stands for economic factors, S stands for social factors, T stands for technological factors, L stands for legal factors, and E stands for environmental factors. You'd realize that E and L, to some extent, they can be interlinked. Political factors and legal factors, they can be interlinked in such a sense that most of the legal factors that are laws specifically or regulations, they are drafted by politicians. So be it within the ruling party or the opposition party, draft proposal have been made, presented in parliament, then it becomes a draft law, and then it becomes implemented into law. So always be careful and be specific when looking at political factors and legal factors, because some of the policies that are drafted by politicians can actually be legal factors. So you'd realize that the environment that we are living in, especially at the moment, it's so dynamic and it's always constantly changing. So the rate of environmental change is something that brands must be crucial whenever they are developing digital marketing strategies, because something that will come up today may be, in fact, it may be affected by something that is happening tomorrow. A good example would be COVID. No one expected COVID to spread so quickly and fast in the first month of 2020. So in the digital world, changes in social culture, particularly pop culture, tend to be very rapid. Introduction of new technologies and changes in their popularity tend to occur frequently and with increasing speed from concept to commercialization. Think about the introduction of TikTok. TikTok has been a game changer in the digital environment. And most of the companies are actually adapting to introduce TikTok in their marketing communications campaign. Digital marketers need to be alert to the forces that are important in the context of their own traditional trading environment so they can aim to ensure the competitiveness of the business. So, in conclusion, in chapter 2, we review the influence on the micro environment which shape the online marketplace or trading environment. In this chapter, we will review how broader, wider economic forces can influence digital marketing. In the marketing literature, there are widely used mnemonics which aim to act as an aid memo for the microenvironmental forces, e.g. pest or slept or pestle. So whatever way that you put it, at the end of the day, it needs to represent a slightly different arrangement of the following micro forces. So there has to be some elements of political forces, of economic forces, of social forces, of technological forces, of legal forces, and environmental forces. I've seen in Marketing 3 that instead of saying environmental forces, the textbook actually says physical forces. So the reason why they say physical is because the environment that we live in is physical. It's something that we operate in, is the ecosystem that we operate in. So whether you put environmental because you're using the PESO acronym, or you mention something else, as long as it makes sense that you are recognizing it as something that is affecting the wider or the macro environmental forces, then that's correct. So therefore, for a digital marketer, the most important task to carry out is to carry out a thorough assessment of the forces that are shaping the online market environment and identify which forces have implications for their own strategic implications. So this is very, very relevant. It's extremely relevant because how you handle data, how you perceive data can always be influenced by aspects such as the legal factors, compliance. How are you dealing with personal information for people who are keying in their payment details when making a purchase online? Think about the addresses that people fill in. How are you treating that information? How are you safeguarding it and making sure that it does not lead to third parties who may have a devious intent? So these are the things that you are going to be looking at this week. And if there are any questions, if there are any queries, please do discuss on the Core Campus discussion forum. And also you can come up with discussions on the WhatsApp groups for this subject. Or if there's something that you feel needs to be addressed, you can always email me or text me directly. But I always want things to be discussed so that they benefit other students. So we'll continue with our macroenvironment case analysis, and we are going to look at SMS and mobile applications. So stay tuned for lesson 26. Thank you.